And the thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it
They
yourself.
spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
what I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my God.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It's a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock the socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. Are you a pervert or something? Okay.
Listen, Jesus is coming back and we don't have a...
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Oh, yeah, I have my infamous sidekick here.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, honey. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. So if you'll notice, today we are premiering a live stream, which may seem a little weird. We're not actually live right now, just to let you guys know. We were kind of indisposed this Friday, so we decided to record a live stream, mostly because I asked you heathens through the community page, and you either didn't care whether or not we did a stream, which that was actually the second most popular, is just not giving a shit.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, and then
Feels
but the most popular was pre-recording a live stream. So we're doing a live stream since we're not going to be able to actually do a live stream on Friday. That means that I will not be able to read the super chats that come in, but both Casey and I are going to be active in the comments, and so we'll be able to interact with the super chats there.
You're definitely still welcome to send them. They still go, part of them still goes to charity.
Yes, obviously, a portion of your super chats, of any memberships, or any revenue that we generate here on Godless Engineer is going to go to a charity. This month, I do believe we're jumping on the Betty White bandwagon and donating to some kind of like a humane organization, like a
animal shelter, no kill shelter, humane society. We haven't picked one yet, but I have a couple narrowed down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. The good thing you got a couple narrowed down, because then we can actually ask the Skeptic Mafia like which one we should donate to.
Sure.
We give them a little bit of power every once in a while. I mean, they have a little bit of power every week. So, but obviously not this week. So sorry, they're Skeptic Mafia, but I just sort of had to, I found one that seemed interesting, and we've actually got a little bit of a follow-up to it. We got a
sorry, found one of what?
Found a video.
Oh, okay.
I found a video that really piqued my interest. Had me rolling my eyes really hard. And so
is that what we're watching?
Yes.
Oof.
But we've got a lead up, like sort of, you know how bands will have the intro band, the
opening act.
The opening act. Yes.
Have you ever been to a concert?
Huh?
Have you ever been to a concert?
I've only been to one concert.
Oh.
It was a who sings that song Yellow?
Coldplay?
Coldplay. It was a Coldplay concert.
All right.
It was a while ago, like long time ago.
I've been to lots of concerts.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Why?
You've talked like in the past about going to a lot of concerts, so it doesn't surprise me you saying I've been to a lot of concerts.
Yeah. They're fun.
Yeah. Anyways, tonight we're going to be looking at Stand to Reason and Greg Koukl. He's put together a really short class on the PragerU style of a class. I seriously think that he thinks that Stand to Reason is a university, because that's what he's calling this, is like a university class.
What?
Yeah. It's really weird. Anyways, apparently we're going to learn how atheism bumps into reality, how atheism violates reality, apparently. And so it's going to feature one of our favorite atheists ever.
You?
Hint the sarcasm.
Oh.
No, it's definitely sarcastic.
Oh, sorry. I didn't get.
It's the one person I'm tired of people fucking mentioning.
Oh, Dawkins?
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Anyways, we're going to be doing that. We also have some Today I Learns with one extra Today I Learned today. It's an extra special one. I cannot resist bringing this one up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I haven't seen him, so I'm going to learn something too.
Yeah. You always do, don't you?
I mean,
you're
normally.
not going to enjoy this surprise one.
Oh, okay.
Everybody out there probably enjoy it. And then we've got comments. We don't have Bro Cephas tonight. He's off getting drunk at a bar. And, despite him being Christian, he regularly likes to get drunk at a bar. But we've got comments, and then we're going to get to our opening act, which is going to be interesting. It's a really short TikTok Christian video. Okay. Yeah. And then we'll get into Greg. I think it's Greg Koukl.
Cockles.
Cockles in the cockles.
That's rude. Sorry. I'm sorry, Greg. I apologize.
I think it's Greg Koukl. I'm not I'm actually not all that sure right at the moment if that's even who's
Are we
presenting
pretty sure it's Greg? The name's Greg?
I'm pretty sure maybe.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. I've recognized him before. I think his name's Greg Koukl.
Okay, so
I guess we'll find out.
Whoever the fuck you are.
Yeah, whoever the fuck this guy is. Anyways, if you heathens want to fuck around and find out how atheism bumps into and violates reality, then please stay tuned. Oh, shit.
Technical problems with GE.
Maybe you've heard this argument before. Oh, well, people used to think that lightning came from the... Gods do not exist. I would just like to point out this is not a real argument.
Crap. This is truly technical problems.
Seriously,
over here.
What are you doing?
Apparently, the hotkeys that I have for the transitions are also hotkeys on the VLC player.
Oh,
so yeah, it's all
right.
That was a little weird, but here I'm fixing that.
Okay.
So I don't know. Hopefully it won't fuck up again. But hey, you know what? It wouldn't be a stream, a GE stream without technical difficulties. Am I right?
Yeah, GE's bumping into reality. I don't know.
I'm bumping into reality. That's right. All right. I think I'd be more prepared with my ukulele, but y'all know what time it is?
Today I learned.
Yes. Today I Sorry, we watched Sing and Sing 2 yesterday, so.
So you think you're a star now?
Oh, yes. I'm just like that Clay Calloway tiger.
Lion.
Lion.
Oh, my.
What?
And bears. Oh, my.
And bears. Oh, my. All right. Well, first up on Today I Learned, we have former First Lady, Helen Herron Taft declared that all waiters in the White House would need to have a full head of hair and then banned all bald-headed butlers from the dining room.
That's kind of bitchy.
I wonder what happened in order to make her want, bald people just confuse me. I don't know. Or
Fired. Maybe she thought bald-headedness was sexy, and so she was like, this is not going to do.
No, me being flustered day in and day out in the White House is just not going to work for me and my first lady.
It's not going to work at
ass.
state dinners. I don't know. It seems like a weird thing to be pissed about.
It does. In case y'all are wondering what I'm drinking tonight, it's a very alcoholic Diet Vanilla Coke. So it's just Diet Coke, and then it's got vanilla vodka in it. And I don't know, it's way more vanilla than a regular Diet Vanilla Coke, but I really don't care.
And I'm drinking, I know everybody's interested in what I'm drinking. Well, I had not enough of the one thing. Well, it was the end of the glass of tea, so there's a little bit of regular black tea in it, iced tea. And then there's some mango peach green tea, but then there wasn't very much of that left. So then I added strawberry orange banana punch on top of it. There's no alcohol in this. I just drink this because I'm weird.
That reminds me of when I would go on these school trips. Mm-hmm. And we'd stop by a fast food place. Mm-hmm. There were some fucking insane people that would go.
Oh, and they'd get all the
and they'd get
sodas.
Every single soda. They fill it up and then they would drink in it. It's like, what kind of fucking maniac are you?
Well, I mean, so to be fair, this is strawberry, orange, banana, mango, peach. It's just it's like a fruity tea punch. It's all sugar free too. So at least they all go together.
They do. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to say you're fucking crazy like these people are, but I mean,
they'd be a monstrosity.
Yeah. They'd be mixing Diet Coke, and then I don't know,
Sprite,
whatever orange drink,
yeah. Ugh.
Sprite. They just mix all of them together.
Those people are just chaos.
They are. But chaos reigns.
I'm what is it? Chaotic good. Yeah. Because it's all fruits and tea, and so it's fine.
Yeah. Speaking of chaos, are you ready for this next Today I Learned?
Probably not, but I'm here for it.
Today I learned about the demon of Chompawat.
Chompawat? This must be a fat demon. Demon of Chompawat rhymes with chomp a lot, eats a lot of shit. I think it's a fatty demon.
So the demon of Chompawat, it was a female tiger in Nepal.
Oh.
That killed over 400 people before being hunted and killed in 1907. Apparently, this tiger traveled as much as 20 miles a day in search of new victims and to evade pursuers.
So she did chomp a lot.
Fuck yeah, she did. Chomp a what?
Kind of like First Lady Taft. She sounds like kind of a bitch.
But I don't know what people did in order to offend this particular tiger, but I mean, something sent this tiger on a warpath.
Maybe she just liked to eat people.
I mean, it says that it doesn't say that she ate them. It just says that she killed them. So I don't know if she actually ate them. Maybe maybe it could be like an insane circus tiger or something like that. Just one too many whips, and that tiger's like, "Fuck it, I'm killing every human."
I mean, maybe we don't know.
This next Today I Learned is in a little bit different format because I did get it from Reddit, but it's just an infographic picture, and it's one that I've already mentioned to you, hun.
Okay.
But it's actually really sad. So it says, in 2012, a scientific study predicted a 39-inch rise in sea level along the North Carolina coast over the next century. In response, North Carolina lawmakers passed a law banning the use of scientific predictions of sea level rise when considering new developments along the coast.
Sir, we don't like what the science says, so we're just going to ban the science.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like right here.
That seems like something they do now. In 2012, I don't know. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this whole anti-science thing has gone on for a long time.
Well, sure. Yeah. I think it's just a little more, I don't know if it's more widespread now. I feel like it's more widespread now.
It's definitely more prominent.
I mean, when the conspiracy theorists go from non-approved, like not FDA approved medications and eating fish food because there's shit in it, going to horse dewormer, and now they're drinking piss to get away from COVID instead of just getting fucking vaccinated. I feel like this whole let's not use the science thing is sort of in line.
Yeah. It seems like it. I can't believe they've actually went to drinking piss now, and like urine therapy is what they call urine therapy.
That's not a real thing.
It's not. That's a made up term to make drinking your piss sound
not crazy.
Legit. Yeah,
not crazy as fuck.
Yeah,
yeah.
What wasn't it? What is it? Dastardly Dave, disposably Dave, supposedly Dan.
It was Dave.
Supposedly Dave, maybe, or probably Dave.
No,
I don't know. I debated him one time.
Yeah,
and he apparently drinks his own piss and even rubs it into his skin.
Yeah, I bet you he stinks.
Oh shit! I do not. Can you imagine like getting into a conversation with someone that's doing the whole urine therapy thing? It's like, oh god damn it, Frank, your mouth just smells like somebody directly pissed in it.
Well, I mean, they did. I mean, unless he's using his dick as a water fountain.
I mean, who knows? He could just lay there on his back and like.
It's like right it's a skill.
Yeah. He's like, I perfected it, John. Get the fuck away from me, Dave. All right, are y'all ready for the bonus surprise? Maybe we should do like a.
Oh, you got a new song.
Surprise! Today I learned.
What?
Like I said, I couldn't resist putting this in today because I found it this week.
Okay.
You're not gonna like it.
That figures.
Yeah. So today I learned that Harambe's sperm was collected shortly after he died so that his genes could live on.
What?
Apparently, I mean, I don't know about you, but the first thing that sprang into my mind was like I guess a zookeeper or something like that with like a needle and just like piercing his nutsack or something. I don't know. I was just like, how in the world did they extract his sperm?
Rude.
But
seems kind of violating. So are there baby Harambes already?
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
Probably.
I mean, if you, I mean, they got them.
I feel like that should be a news story.
Yeah.
Like baby Harambe born.
Yeah,
like
Harambe reincarnated. Don't worry, guys, we replaced him. That's horrible. Has it been long enough to make jokes about Harambe? I mean, Harambe's a meme, so dicks out for Harambe.
I mean, yeah, it's been long enough.
Yeah.
People are already making, Bob Saget meme jokes, and that's a little soon.
That is kind of.
It's really hard that we lost like America's grandma and America's dad all in like a 2-week period.
Who's America's brother?
I don't know. The Eddie from Christmas Vacation.
No, that's America's uncle.
That's America's uncle. Okay.
But I mean, he's crazy as fuck now, which actually tracks with the whole American uncle thing.
He's crazy as fuck. You're right. He's America's uncle. I don't know who America's brother is. Anybody in the chat? Who do you think America's brother is?
Yeah, who? Let us know in the comments or the live chat, whichever one you happen to have access to right now. Who's America's brother? And then I guess who would be America's sister? I'm just asking for, non-betting reasons. There might be a Deadpool. I don't know. I could probably find a Deadpool somewhere.
A what?
A Deadpool. Like somebody bets on who's going to die next.
Oh, that's morbid.
I'm sure it exists out there.
I mean, most things, everything does.
Yeah. All right. You ready for comments?
Never.
But
we're going to do it anyway.
I know exactly 2 or 3 chords on the ukulele, so comments of the day. Prepare to face bomb yourself in the next week.
You had to learn the chord song. Remember? I don't remember what it was. Something about dogs.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember it either now.
And it's been a long time.
My dog has fleas or something.
Yes.
I don't know. Something about fleas.
I don't think that's what it actually was supposed to be.
No, I know I changed it to be a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah, you really do.
All right. So this first comment here comes from Twitter. It's not my Twitter response to me or anything like that. But so I know you can't see, hun, but there's a woman grasping her chest with her phone out on a table, and she's like hunched over in pain.
Okay.
And this person says, "My wife, after second dose, she's a healthcare worker. Small heart attack, magnets also stick all over her, but it's just conspiracy. Yeah, wake up, smell the clots.
Smell the clots?
Wake up, smell the clots."
I absolutely cannot take people like this.
So apparently this person has a wife, a healthcare worker, and this is her after her second dose, I guess, and she had a small heart attack. I guess it just wasn't.
That was related to magnets?
No, so there should be a comma in there, I think, because it's small heart attack, magnets also stick all over her. But it's a little hard because he doesn't use any. The only punctuation he uses are question marks after "it's just a conspiracy," and then 3 exclamation points at the very end after "clots." I don't think that you can smell clots, by the way.
These people are uneducated twats. So, like, nobody's surprised by this.
Yeah.
Magnets don't stick all over your wife, stupid ass.
Well, I'm just kind of curious. Like, he says that. I'm wondering why he doesn't put a picture of magnets sticking to her.
Even if he had, it doesn't mean they are.
True.
You remember, every time I think of this whole magnet thing, I think of that lady at the school board meeting or the town hall or whatever she was at, and she keeps trying to stick magnets to her, and they keep falling off like metal objects. And they keep falling and falling and falling, and eventually she gets something to stick, and she's like, "See?" That's because you sticky and sweaty. Go take a shower.
Yeah, so I don't know. I hope that this person that he posted a picture of is okay, because obviously it looks like she's in some kind of pain. But I sincerely doubt that the vaccine gave her a small heart attack. Also, definitely sure that magnets don't stick to her.
Anyway, I hope she's okay.
Yeah, me too. I hope she's fine.
I'm sure if she had
is.
died from the vaccine, there'd have been a news story all about it.
Yeah. All right, next up is a guy who thinks he has climate change all figured out.
Oh, okay.
And he has a weird way of admitting that it's human caused climate change.
Okay.
All right, here we go. My best Persephus voice. Human-made climate change is a hoax. Real climate change is caused by more evil bodies entering into hell. Okay, it really is human-made in that sense. So let me get this straight. More people are falling away from God, and when they die, it's stoking the fires of hell, thereby warming the planet up and causing sea levels to rise and all this other stuff. And so the fact that we're all sinning and going to hell and causing the planet to get hotter, it's human-made climate change.
I mean, honey, that's as good a theory as any.
What? I do not think so. That does not seem like
what?
a good...
So if more and more and more people go to hell, stoking the fires of hell, putting more smoke and shit into the atmosphere, then the planet would warm. I mean, that makes logical sense. If hell was real and that was a real thing that was happening.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, honestly, it makes more sense than most of the shit that they say.
Well, so, I mean, there's a couple of problems here because normally Christians, which I'm assuming this guy's Christian. He looks like he's probably Christian.
I mean, he's talking about people going to hell, so.
Right. Well, I mean, normally they talk about heaven and hell as these spiritual celestial places that aren't physically here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Old Testament, the afterlife or the where you go after you die was a physical place, and it was like at the center of the earth, if you will. So I don't know. It kind of seems like if he is Christian, he's mixing up his theologies.
I mean, they got one thing right. The center of the earth is hot as hell.
I mean, does hell have a temperature? And technically, just putting on my engineer hat here, and because I saw a meme where it went through all the calculations and everything like that, heaven would actually be hotter than hell.
Yeah, I don't know if that meme is legit or not. You know, there's all kinds of memes with wrong shit. So I don't know if that one's actually accurate to anything.
Well, I mean,
I haven't gone through it.
If you, I mean, there's no way that the center of the earth is hotter than the sun.
Fair.
So that was the whole point of the meme.
Is sun heaven? Is that what they're?
Well, it's just like the whole premise is the closer, like, you know, you get to the sun, the hotter it's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it depends on where heaven exactly is, if it's a physical place here. So, I mean, honey, is it just this corner of the house while we're doing a recording that triggers your yawn mechanism?
You know what? No one else had to know that I yawned. No one. Except for your tattling ass. Look, it's kind of late.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. I won't mention it again. All right, you ready for some more crazy shit?
Yep.
Okay. Well, this next crazy shit is this person says, all vaxxed are chipped. It's not a booster. It's a software update for the first. Easily seen under a microscope. Look it up.
What?
Yep. The booster is a software update for the first round of vaccinations that you got.
So I just want to tell this guy that you don't need a booster for a software update. All you have to do is, you know, one of those bricks that you use for phone charger.
Yeah.
Plug a brick into a wall, and then you plug a charging cord. It doesn't matter what kind, any kind of charging cord into that, and then you just stick the other end up your butthole, and that will trigger a software update. Yep, that's how it works. So you should try that, sir.
Yeah, you know, I was starting to remember Stanley from The Office, because there's one episode where Stanley starts to give meaningful instructions, and then he always ends it with, and then shove it up your butt. And so I thought you were going to be like, no, it's easy. To do a software update, you just plug the charger into the wall, then plug the USB into that, and then you shove the other end up your butt.
I mean, that is pretty much what I said.
Yeah, I know.
I just said you put it in your butthole.
Put it in your butthole. You're a bit more explicit than Stanley.
Yeah. That'll trigger a software update. You don't need a booster for that.
No.
You need a booster. You need a booster to fight COVID.
Yeah, you do. Oh man, but yeah, so I don't understand how that could be a software update. Like even if we were to take this seriously, like I don't understand how it would be a software update unless I guess maybe the nanobots carried the firmware update and then it propagated to the other nanobots with the firmware update
that somehow made it to the chip.
Yeah.
That has, I don't know, that's like an operating system or something inside of you to make you magnetic and 5G capable.
Also, how much do you want to bet this person actually has access to a microscope? Like,
this person doesn't have access to shoes, John.
You know, that reminds me of that meme where with the hillbilly person in front of the house that's covered in Trump memorabilia
that
stuff.
is so upset about billionaires being taxed.
No, at the time it was I believe the meme said, yeah, y'all know that the stock market's really fucked up right now. And it's like a hillbilly in front of his rundown shitty ass house.
You don't have any stock.
4 cars in the front yard on blocks.
And every old washer that they've ever owned that doesn't work inoperable on the front porch. And you don't have stock, sir. I don't know why this matters to you.
Yeah. And then he's just like, shut, the stocks are shit right now. I'm sure, Cletus, you own plenty of stocks. Oh man, but yeah, I sincerely doubt that this person even has access to a microscope. I'm not even going to entertain the idea of them owning a microscope, but I sincerely doubt that they've actually looked underneath a microscope.
Also, what are you supposed to look at under the microscope?
I don't know.
Like your arm? That's not
well, I'm guessing he's talking about take the vaccine and look at it under the microscope.
Oh, look at I thought he meant like look at your the chips in you. You look at a microscope.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. He means look at the vaccine. So what are we supposed to see in vaccine? Microchips or
nanobots? I've heard nanobots before.
Okay.
Next up is this dipshit. He said, my friend told me today that she had to see her GP for an unrelated COVID matter. The GP asked if she had had any COVID jabs. When she answered no, he high-fived her. And not all doctors are corrupt or useless. I sincerely doubt this ever happened.
I mean, there are some useless fucking doctors. You know that doctor that Trump paraded around, the black lady doctor? I can't remember what her name is.
Oh, the one that talked about alien.
Oh yeah, she's
something?
crazy as shit, and she's a doctor. What about Ben Carson? He's crazy as shit, and he's a fucking brain surgeon.
Oh, Rand Paul got his ass served this week.
He's crazy as fucking. Dr. Fauci just fucking had his ass this week. Senator Marshall too. That was funny as hell. Fucking moron. He didn't say fucking.
Jesus
he said,
Christ.
Jesus Christ. What a moron. That was so funny.
But yeah, I really can't believe Rand Paul is trying to get money in order, but he's trying to get money for his campaign by touting just
fire Dr. Fauci
rhetoric. Yeah, it's just baseless rhetoric that he can't do anything about. And it's like, fire Dr. Fauci.
Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. Give me money.
I know, exactly. You know, it reminds me, I'm getting reminded of a lot of shit tonight. But it reminds me of a Family Guy episode where Lois runs for, I want to say it was either mayor, like city council or something like that. Anyway, she's running for,
I think it was mayor.
Was it mayor?
I think so.
Yeah. And she just gets up and she just says a whole bunch of buzzwords. And that's it. I feel like that's what the Republican Party has become.
Yeah.
You know, it's let's go Brandon, fire Fauci, and grab him by the pussy.
Well,
like,
and you know what's funny is Fauci called Senator Marshall a moron this week, and you know who's super pissed about it? The Let's Go Brandon people.
What?
It's disrespectful to talk about a senator, say that to a senator or about a senator. Really?
Yeah. And
you wear shirts that say fuck Hillary. Like, I mean,
not just that, but like
two middle fingers. Yeah, like all these shirts that they wear, but they're pissed because Fauci called a moron a moron. I mean, for fuck's sake, this guy's a senator and he had this giant ass fake check made out with Fauci's salary on it and is questioning Fauci, thinking he's got a super big gotcha about his investments and what is he hiding and he needs to make his investments public. And Fauci's just like, my financial disclosure is public information, has been for the last 35 years. So like every year for 35 years, I've put out a financial disclosure of what my investments are and everything. So you can just ask for it. That's all. And the guy was like dumbfounded. He didn't know what to say because someone told him to ask that question thinking he was going to have a gotcha.
Yeah.
And he looked like a goddamn moron.
Yeah.
So Fauci said so. After having worked for the Trump administration, I hope he just unleashes on these fucking people.
Well, it's funny because another Congress or representative or congressperson had to like interject and be like, let the record show that Fauci has said that his shit's available. Like it's been out there. Move on.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I sincerely doubt that this person or that this event actually happened, and it's not all that surprising.
And even if it did, who cares? It's one doctor who's an idiot. There are doctors who are idiots also. It's not like all doctors are infallible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's idiots and assholes in every fucking camp.
Yeah. All right, and then finally, we're going to be taking a look at Zuby, who's actually got a blue check mark.
I can't stand this guy.
Yeah, Zuby Music is his Twitter handle. Anyways, he says, you can make the average person afraid of the common cold simply by changing its name. This is the power of branding. So what he's talking about is the, COVID-19.
Hey,
it's
y'all know
coronavirus, and it was
Anytime
found
is
in
a good
2019.
time
That's why
for
it's
a
called COVID-19. But anyways, it's a coronavirus, which is most of the time just common cold, right? The problem is that this is vastly different than like other coronaviruses, obviously, because we've been battling it for the last 2 years, nearly 3 years now.
It's been 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but so we never changed the name of it. And it's not that, we've tried to, anybody has ever tried to play it off as anything more than, part of that common colds like family. It's just that, every sickness, every disease is going to be different. And just because this one is different and is more deadly than other coronaviruses, I mean, I really don't.
And it's a SARS virus.
Right.
So like it's more the last time when did we have a SARS virus? The last time, I can't remember. It was pretty bad too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, COVID is not just a common cold. And the fact that this guy's a grifter though. He's one that's like he's been to like the MythCon stuff. Well, not MythCon, but the follow on, whatever the fuck they are now.
Dipshits.
Yeah, that group of dipshits.
Dipshit con.
And I saw recently like David Silverman trying to get this guy's attention, and it's.
See that creepy shit that Silverman put out? Where he apparently he wants to spank AOC.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, I feel like maybe he should
not say things like that.
Yes.
Considering why he got fired from.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, that's going to be it for the comments today. We do have the opening act and then the actual video. So let's hurry on up, move on over, and let's get to the actual video. Technical problems with GE. All right. Let me fix this guy up real quick. Also I'm trying to make this as a live stream esque as possible. So this isn't going to be really edited at all. So yeah. Anyways, All right. So this guy right here is special.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, honey, you can't see him, but he's got a nice thick beard going.
Okay. Like a good one or a patchy one?
No, it's filled in.
It's a pretty good beard.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's see what he's got.
Listen, Jesus is coming back and we don't have a lot of time. I don't know the date, I don't know the hour, but my friend, he can come back tomorrow. He really could. So tell your friends about the gospel. Tell your friends about Jesus.
I'm not going to tell my friends. Well, actually, I mean, I guess I don't have to tell my friends about Jesus because like
everybody knows about Jesus.
I don't know who this is the one thing that really confuses me about a lot of like evangelicals and stuff. Because it's like, oh, have you heard about Jesus Christ? Fucking who? I have never heard of this sumbitch before. Tell me about him.
I mean, especially in the United States. I feel like mostly all over the world, I'd be willing to bet that everyone's heard of Jesus. But like, I mean, except of course for the very few indigenous tribes that are like really secluded, maybe they haven't heard of him, but that's all right. Like, it's fine. I wouldn't go there based on what happened to the last guy that tried to do that.
What she's referencing is this one evangelical who went to an island where everybody was like, everybody that he told that he was going to the island was like, don't go to that island. They'll fucking kill you. Mm-hmm. So he went to the island and they killed him.
Yeah.
They fucked him up. And, maybe he shouldn't have gone to that island. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the preachers or whatnot that try to bring Jesus to like tigers and shit.
It's everybody knows about Jesus. It's fine. We've heard of him. You don't need to work so hard.
Yeah. Also, I feel like it's very, like being that forceful about Jesus, being like, oh, hey, have you heard about Jesus? I mean, I feel like if somebody asks about it or it comes up naturally, fine, talk about it. Like, I wouldn't mind that. But like, if you're just going to run up to me, like there's this thing, this one genre of videos on TikTok where it just has people like running out of wherever like they're at in the room. And they're like, hey, I just had to tell you, Jesus loves you. And like, or it's like, I just need to say a prayer for you. Jesus, please, we suck your dick in glory. Kind of like they just run out of nowhere and they just start doing that shit. Like if somebody did that to me, I would just look at them crazy and then be like, okay, fine, just fucking go away.
Makes me think of that Expedition Unknown episode where Josh was in, he was either in China or Japan. I think he was in Japan, and the train was like super quiet. Nobody was talking on the train, but it was super full of people. And he's like, if it's so quiet, if this was a train in New York, you'd have two people panhandling, one person screaming, and another person talking a lot about Jesus. Yeah, that sounds like New York.
Yeah. All right, let's see what else he's got to say.
There is no time to waste. There is no time to waste. Think about them. Think about the people who don't know Christ. Tell them, please.
Well, so I'm wondering, like, the people that don't know Christ, I'm wondering if maybe he's using that as a way to say just people that don't believe in Jesus.
People who aren't Christians.
Right. Yeah. Because obviously if we're not Christian, we just don't know Jesus.
I mean, that's ignorant as fuck. But I mean, does he seem like unreasonably like alarmed? And I don't know, this seems very dramatic.
It is.
But he seems genuine, but he seems genuinely scared. And I don't know. I feel sorry for people who have I feel sorry for them.
Yeah. This particular TikToker is known to get very emotional when he does these pleas for believing in Jesus.
I feel like that's some kind of instability and that maybe he needs some help or something. Not because Christianity is a mental illness, because I don't play that game, but like he just seems so upset. For really no reason. Like, I don't know. It just seems like a lot.
Well, to me, it seems like it's very much buried into the religion that, people that don't believe as they do are like no, maybe not. Well, in the past they were bad, but like in some evangelical circles, it's like they're gonna be burned and tortured in hell and everything like that. So they like that's why they do the open air preaching. That's why they scream at you and everything like that. Like I don't know what that's supposed to accomplish, but
obviously what it accomplishes is some serious emotional trauma to people as they're growing up, and that's why he is where he is today, and that's really sad.
It is. I do feel bad for this particular TikToker because if he's genuine, Christianity fucked him up.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
Make it hard for the people to go to hell. Make it difficult for your friends to go to hell. Tell them about Jesus. He is coming soon.
And that's it. Jesus is coming soon. Get your raincoats.
Coming soon. I don't know. It's so like eerie. I don't know. I'm not a fan. Also not a fan of Jesus.
No, you're not a fan of Jesus?
No.
But he's coming soon, honey.
Well,
he's only been edging for 2,000 years.
That seems like a personal thing, and maybe someone should get him a sock.
Okay. So that was the opening act. That guy on TikTok is known for getting very emotional. So I hope that he's mentally okay, but I guess we'll never know.
He just seems traumatized.
Yeah. He's traumatized every time he turns on the camera.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is. But anyways, we're going to get to, I believe it's Greg Koukle. We'll figure out who in the fuck this dude is from Stand to Reason.
He'll probably introduce himself.
Huh?
He'll probably introduce himself.
Either that or it'll be on the screen, like what his name is.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, all right, Stand to Reason. Are you guys ready to go to Stand to Reason University? I hope you got your notebooks out and you're going to be taking some notes here.
I got my pen. I got my Godless Engineer pen.
Yeah. All right.
And the back of an envelope. That should do.
I believe that will probably be all the notes that you need to take. I'm not even sure if you're going to need that.
Okay.
But let's see what Greg's got for us.
Okay.
Of all of the questions that every human being asks about what's true, or about what's important, or about what's meaningful, there is no more significant question to answer than this one. Does God exist? You know, God's existence is the most decisive issue of life because the answer you give to that one question sets an irrevocable course for everything that follows.
I feel like that's really dramatic. Like, because like, however you answer, does God exist? That sets a dramatic course for everything that follows. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think that the question, does God exist, is, you know, like an important question to ask, but
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, but on a personal level, like, is it really that? I mean, to me, that's less relevant than like, what elective do you want to take? Like, but maybe that's because I don't believe in gods. So, I don't know.
Well, I also don't really see God changing someone's like behavior all that much, because like, if you do believe in God and you, let's say you worship God, you're still prone to doing all of the bad shit that, you know, that anybody that doesn't believe in God would be, you know, could possibly do as well. And I mean, you know, the religion doesn't exactly have a great track record when it comes to that particular thing, because it's like, you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, however you answer this question is going to determine the course of your life. It's like, no, it seems like it's just going to go the way it would have gone, even if I didn't believe in God.
And the average person is just going to be either I go to church on Sundays or I don't. Like,
right.
I mean,
unless because you believe in God, you go into like evangelicalism, like, you know, hardcore preaching or witnessing or anything to do directly with the religion. I think that's the only way that it can affect your life.
Right. Well, I think the vast majority of Christians are, and I mean, I don't have data to back any of this up, but if you just think about it, think about how many Christians there are versus how many like hardcore evangelical kind of people there are. I mean, there aren't a lot of Greg Locks out there, right?
No.
Thankfully. And not that they are few and far between, but there are certainly more like just normal mainstream folks that believe in whatever. And now in this particular instance, they're talking about God as if it's the only option, right? The Christian God. So they're talking about Yahweh God. And if you're talking just about that, then, you know, the average mainstream Christian is just, they're going to go to church. It's not really going to impact their life in super significant ways.
Right.
So I'm not sure this is the most important question ever.
No. All right, let's continue.
Now, in this course, you will learn that we don't have to guess when it comes to answering the question about God's existence. Instead, God's fingerprints, so to speak, are all around us. In other words, the world around us, the real world, is thick with evidence for God.
It's thick with evidence.
As opposed to the fake world, the real world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what because he put a lot of emphasis on the real world.
Yep. He kind of gets into that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But just know that it's thick with evidence for God. Evidence for God is a thick boy.
Well, I also like how he's like God's fingerprints. Maybe is he meaning fingerprints like actual literal fingerprints, or is he using fingerprints like in a figurative?
I think he's using it in a figurative way.
Okay.
I think he's trying to reference like just evidence for God, or evidence that God had a hand in our reality.
Is everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, we bump into it all the time. In our sessions together, I'll walk you through a thoughtful analysis of 3 of the key bumps that evidence God's existence. Details of reality that Christianity can make sense out of, but atheism cannot. I'm Greg Koukl for Stand to Reason University. Let's get started with atheism bumping into reality.
Stand to Reason is not a university. Stop using that word, people. This is wrong.
This is a course, honey. I don't care what you say. This is a course.
All right. Well, then this is Godless Engineer University, and right now y'all are being educated.
I really am kind of getting tired of all these like fake ass universities just using the word university. It's a lot like what's that Express oil change place? I think it's just called Express Oil Change, and they have tire engineer up there. Like they got tire engineers. That I feel like it's just placing like engineer on the end of whatever fucking word, and you're an engineer. Like I don't think that just because you're putting out these shitty fucking videos on YouTube that makes you a university. I mean, if that were the case, then every single video of mine has been a course,
university course,
and it's Godless Engineer University. But you know, I'm not so pretentious that I'm going to put that in my fucking name, title, or present my videos as anything other than a dim-witted hillbilly's trek through fucking Christian evangelicalism or whatever. Like I feel like I don't present myself as any kind of like expert in anything, or that any of the information in my videos would fully educate you on any one topic.
Yeah.
Like definitely look up information for yourself.
I mean, I learned stuff from your videos, but I still wouldn't consider your videos courses or classes, and it's certainly not a university.
And I would definitely not present them as such.
Yeah, that's the problem to me, is that these places present themselves as like educational forums, and they're to the point of calling it a university, which I think is really misleading and dishonest, which kind of tracks with evangelicalism. So.
Yeah.
Someone once said that reality is what you bump into and sometimes injures you when you don't take it seriously.
Yeah, when that reality starts twerking with their thick ass butt, just and then it bumps into you, it's like, oh shit, fucking reality.
Maybe that's the roaming gravity wells that like randomly.
Oh yeah, that cause you to stumble. Anytime you trip over anything, trust me, it wasn't whatever you tripped over. It was a roaming gravity well,
or reality bumping into you,
or reality twerking on you. Yeah.
Now, I'm here in my shop, and I got lots of tools here, and some of them are really dangerous. But the most dangerous tool in my shop is my table saw. It's driven by a
sterilize your mouth.
Sorry.
I feel like the most dangerous tool in this entire video is Greg Koukl.
But, to call him a tool would be unfair because tools are useful.
Good point.
3 horsepower motor. I got a 10-inch blade, and man, that'll take your fingers off just like that.
He's got a big 10-inch, honey.
Mm-hmm. He got a big 10-inch thick boy, and reality's gonna twerk right up against it.
This is terrible.
If you're not careful. So how do I stay safe in my shop? I'm
Wear
careful.
a condom.
You heard it here first. The way you stay safe in the shop, in like a workspace like that, is to wear a condom.
Hey, we always have to have safe practices.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this video, I believe it was on Reddit, where apparently Durex has upped their game on the condom scene.
Okay.
Because apparently Durex has made condoms that are nearly guaranteed not to break. And they demonstrated it in 2 ways. One, like, I don't know what it was, but they put one of their condoms on a cucumber and then put it in like a little miniature bear trap thing. And so it snaps shut on this cucumber.
Jesus fuck.
It snaps the end of the cucumber off, but it does not break the condom.
Wow.
And then they go further and directly take a knife and slice the cucumber, and the cucumber's completely sliced up. Still
Inside
no
the
condom break.
Wow.
I know. Buy Durex, kids, so you don't have kids. Or
Don't
get
try
STDs.
to sell condoms to kids
or,
on YouTube.
huh?
Yeah, don't try to sell condoms to kids on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I didn't mean it as literal kids because, I mean,
folks. Use another word.
Folks.
Yes, the lawyers would like to say, don't try to sell condoms to kids on the YouTube.
All right.
Okay.
I look closely. I pay attention. I think things through. And that's exactly how we're going to approach the question of God's existence.
I would not want to be in a shop like a little, I don't know what kind of like metalworking or woodworking shop he's got there.
Mm-hmm.
If his approach to does God exist or the question of God give any kind of indication as to how much care he takes place in that workspace, no, he needs to have like 911 on call every single time he goes in there. Okay, condom or not.
So first, we need to define our terms here. Now, we know what theism is. It's a belief that there is a personal God, a conviction that God exists. So what's atheism? It's just the opposite. Atheism, now watch this, is the belief that there is no God. King David wrote, "The heavens are telling of the glory of God, and their expanse is declaring the work of his hands." All right?
Okay, so I have a lot of problems with both of these definitions. Okay, for one thing, that is not the definition of theism, because he says that it's specifically a belief in a personal God.
I think that is the definition of theism.
Well, no, a belief in a God or deity.
Well, so deism is a belief in a non-personal God. Theism is a belief in a personal God, an interactive.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure that's the difference between theism and deism.
Belief in the existence of a God or gods, especially belief in one God as the creator of the universe, intervening in it and sustaining a personal relation to his creatures.
Yeah, so belief in a personal.
Well, it says especially the belief in the personal God.
Mm-hmm.
But the general definition is belief in the existence of God or gods.
Well, sure, but especially a personal. If you're trying to separate it from deism, then theism is a personal God. Deism is not.
Okay.
A non-interactive.
Well, that's fine. But like what he said was that atheism is a belief there is no God, but he's got it written on the screen, a belief there is no personal God.
Which would actually drop deism into the atheism category.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I feel like there's some inconsistency in these definitions.
Well, yeah, not only that, but I feel like it's a weird thing that people do whenever they try to define atheism, and I utterly hate
religious people.
Yeah, I utterly hate it. Okay, because they always get it wrong. Now, theism being a belief in a personal God, you would think that the negation of that would be having no belief in a personal God.
Mm-hmm.
And but they swap it around a little bit, and they say that it's a belief that there is no personal God.
Well, so from a philosophical standpoint, it is a belief. Atheism is a belief. Okay, so if you look at it from a philosophical standpoint, but most people who are just just regular old atheists who, you know, aren't into philosophy would not categorize it that way. So there are different ways to define things from different standpoints, but I mean, that's not going to be your common use.
Well, okay, so here's what I want to hear from all you heathens out there, or non-heathens, is for my particular position. I think that my position's pretty much what yours is too, and that's I don't believe in a God, but I don't know if one exists.
Yeah, I don't believe in any gods because there isn't any evidence
right
of them. I've never seen any evidence. I've never been convinced by anything that anybody's brought forward as supposed evidence of any deity at all. So now there are certainly God figures in many religions that exist within those religions, but exist within reality. Not so.
Right.
In my opinion, not so.
My point is that you don't know if a God exists, but you don't believe in one.
Right. I don't know for sure. I mean, there's tons of shit we don't know.
Right.
And, you know, so, I mean, I can't say in the entire universe and outside of reality, because that's another thing that they've talked about. You know, God exists outside of reality, but also within reality. So I don't really know how that works. But, I mean, there's no way for us to know that. I don't think.
Right. So for all of the philosophers or, you know, anybody else that wants to answer the question, what fucking label should I use in order to describe me? Because
you should use whatever label you want to use.
Oh no,
it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Well, no. I am going to use the label because the label that I prefer to use is agnostic atheist. I feel like it you know, completely explains my position in those couple of words. But my point is that people that use this particular definition and want to stick atheism strictly in the hard Gnostic atheism category, what in the fuck would I be then? Because whenever I hear of somebody not believing in a God, I immediately think atheist. Now, like Casey said, most people are not talking, you know, out of their ass from the Stanford encyclopedia of fucking philosopher bro bullshit. Okay. And most of the time when people are talking about atheism, it's just people that don't believe in a God. And, you know, in the past, atheism has been people that don't believe in a specific set of either gods or a God or one particular God. So that, I mean, they would identify them in that way too. So I'm just wondering out there, what would you label me as if you only go with this one definition, which is kind of stupid when you think about the English language or languages in general?
I think it's silly to rabbit hole into a single definition. There are various ways. What's important when you're having conversations about something, which this guy does, and so I think it's good that he does this, just define how you use a word. Right. And then when you define how you use it, don't try to force another person to use that same definition. Now, you might want to agree on a definition for a purpose of a conversation, and that would be okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the definition that everyone in the conversation uses. It might just be an agreed upon for the use of that particular conversation. So just so long as when you're speaking to other people, you understand the way that they're defining terms.
Right.
And the problem that I've run into a lot with people is you don't have to agree on, like, you don't both have to use the same term. Like, right. Everybody doesn't have to define it the same way. And that's okay. That's fine.
Right.
I'm not a proponent of the lack theism. I don't subscribe to the whole lack in belief in gods. That's not something I use. I don't agree with that. But I'm fine if other people use that and that's what they think.
Right. But I do have to say that on particular God definitions, I am very Gnostic about those. So like the Christian God, for example, which is what STR is going with here, I would say that I have an active belief that God does not exist. Like
I think that's fair.
I'm hard atheist on that particular God. So working within these definitions, I'm perfectly fine with that. It's just that I think that characterizing atheism as like only this one thing is a bit like it's like an equivocation fallacy.
I just think it the way that he defines these two terms together doesn't, like I said, you could drop deists in the atheist category,
right?
The way that he defines this, and I think that's not going to work. So logically, it doesn't flow,
right?
So these can't logically be definitions that one would use, but he does use them. So
yeah. But I do also want to say that it's perfectly fine if y'all have sort of complex, nuanced positions on the question of does God exist, or of what you think about God in general, because like mine's kind of complex. Because like
I think a lot of people's are, especially if you've deconstructed from religion.
Yeah, because like me being a hard atheist on Yahweh doesn't say anything about whether or not I believe in like a
Krishna.
Krishna. I was thinking more of a deistic or like a just an ambiguous definition of a god,
like a supernatural, all-powerful being.
Right. I feel like I have two different positions on those, so it's okay to have complex, nuanced positions on this particular topic.
Sure.
Right? The atheist, by contrast, says the cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be.
I don't say that.
I don't know who says that. It just, like, he's got a quote up underneath it, and it just says, the atheist. What fucking atheist? Actually give me a goddamn citation, because I don't know anybody that's ever said this. And, honestly, like, the cosmos is all that ever is, or ever was, or ever will be. Like, I don't know who can confidently say this, because I don't know that.
Is that like a Sagan or
I feel like if it was a well-known person,
Neil deGrasse Tyson, he would have said it.
He wouldn't have just said the atheist, because he pulls out his Dawkins card later.
Oh.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's all that ever has been, or all that there ever will be. I mean, there's no way to know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the cosmos is in existence now, but I mean, there's so much of the cosmos we don't know anything about.
Right. I mean, like, I can't even say like the supernatural doesn't exist. Like as like as like something that I know. Like, I don't know if the supernatural exists or not. What I can tell you is that I haven't seen any evidence of the supernatural, so I don't believe in the supernatural.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a very different.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, they're two very different but nuanced things there. It's what you know and then what you believe, regardless of what you know.
But I still think this is weird to say the atheist says this as if it's something common that atheists think. And I mean, maybe there are some atheists that do think this, but I don't know. I don't like when stuff is presented in this fashion. I don't care for it.
Now, before we go any further, I want you to notice something else about atheism. It is a standard move by atheists nowadays to simply say they are not asserting that God doesn't exist, but they simply have no belief in God. And since they lack a belief, they don't need to defend their lack of belief.
I mean, that's true.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is why I think, and I know that Casey disagrees with me about this, but like people saying lack of belief, are I feel like that's roughly equivalent to saying I don't believe in like I don't believe in a God. And
see, I think lack of belief is more in line of agnosticism.
Oh, I mean, I can I guess agree with that maybe. But this right here is a prime example of why I think that the two are being equivocated with each other. But I mean, I don't know why he's presenting this as a problem. Like, oh, atheists think they're not making any kind of claims. I mean, for the most part, most atheists out there, like in a general manner, are not making a positive claim. They're just saying, I'm not convinced by, any of the evidence that I've seen so far. So I guess I don't know. In order to be an atheist, according to Greg Koukl, you've got to make the hard atheist position. Like, you've got to have that position.
It's because I think that he's more in line with the philosophical definition.
He's a philosopher, bro.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. I don't feel there are certainly some atheists who make positive claims. There are no gods. There are certainly atheists who do that. And that's fine. They can defend that as they wish, or as they're requested to, or as they feel necessary. But someone who doesn't make those claims does not need to defend them. And this isn't like a gotcha moment. This isn't like we're just trying to get out of defending our position. No, that's not what this is. And I feel like that's how it's coming across from the way he's communicating this comes across to me. Like he's like, well, atheists are just tricky and they use this to get out of something. And I don't think that is the case for the vast majority of atheists.
Right. And I mean, setting aside the talk of knowledge, like Gnostic, agnostic thing, I would genuinely like to know what he would think about somebody that legitimately just doesn't believe in any of the current gods that are out there. Or any of the deities. Like what would he call, because he's obviously saying that these people that claim, oh, I just don't believe, are either not atheists or they're atheists that are trying to get out of defending their position. And so I'm just kind of curious as to what would he call those people? Would he call them agnostics? Because to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because agnosticism is about whether or not you know something. And technically agnosticism is I don't know or I can't know about it.
And there are definitely people like true agnosticism where people in agnosticism in relation to religion, because agnostic is a word that can be used for anything, just to say you don't know about something. Like, I'm agnostic about this particular thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be used in a religious sense, but in the religious sense, maybe there are definitely people who just don't know what they believe. And that's fine too. I mean, that's fine too. If you've considered gods, but you're just not sure how you feel about it or what you think about it, or you decide that you don't know enough about it and you don't fucking care. You're totally apathetic about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely fine. That's okay. Like, all positions in this, everything on this spectrum is completely fine. And I don't see why he has such a big problem. And I really don't care what he calls anybody. My problem is that he's making it out like we're trying to get out of something, but we're not trying to get out of anything. Like, I don't know what else I can explain to you from my particular position to say I don't believe in gods, because I've never seen any evidence of gods, and anything that has been presented to me has just not been compelling.
Right.
Like, I don't really have to justify that in any way.
Because I mean, you're not making a positive claim about anything.
No, I'm just saying I don't believe.
Right.
All right. Now, I don't think that's exactly intellectually honest, because no one writes best-selling books about their lack of beliefs, all right?
They do.
Well, I mean, but you see, also, like, all of the atheist books that have been produced out there, they're not writing about how they necessarily about like their non-belief in a deity. They're writing about the reasons why they don't believe in a deity, right?
Well, either that, or their story of how they deconverted, or why they deconverted, or they might be writing about how to deal with death when you don't have, the comforts of theism. you know, where you don't have the comforts of afterlife, how to deal with that, or how to parent as an atheist in a theistic country, or like there are atheists that write books pertaining to atheism that aren't just like not believing in gods. Like that's not typically the sole topic. I mean, there are some certainly, but I don't know. Some of them are arguments against gods, certain, you know, arguments against religion.
Right.
Like kind of a debunking kind of deal.
But I guess my point is that the books and articles and everything like that are written in response to evidence presented for God.
Right.
So, I mean, it's that we disagree with those pieces of evidence. So what's being written about isn't exactly like, oh, I don't believe in a God. There you go. Send it off to the printer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not that.
Thin. It seems thin.
Right. I think that it's intellectually dishonest for him to misrepresent, like, I guess, atheist literature like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's calling us intellectually dishonest because we're not making some positive claim.
Yeah. I don't feel like I need to.
Yeah. I think it's ridiculous.
There's a lot of things I don't make positive claims about.
I know.
Atheists are making a case, and the case that they're trying to make is that there is no God. That's their belief. Certainly.
I'm not trying to make that case.
No. So, I mean, he's about to draw a diagram here, but I mean, sure, there are some atheists out there that make this particular hard atheist statement that there is no God. And from what I've seen, they're perfectly fine with defending it. And I can agree with some of their arguments, but I have a problem with being able to know whether or not that's correct. Because I don't know. I don't know what kind of deity could exist out there. And you know, with everything that we don't know about reality, there still could be some kind of supernatural force that exists. And so I just simply don't know. And so that's why I go with the agnostic on top of being an atheist. And
see, I don't even care about the God question at all. Like, I know this sounds really weird. I'm an atheist. I don't believe it, but I really don't care. I think that the whole does God exist argument and debate is super boring and super ridiculous because neither way can actually prove anything at all, period. So I don't even give a shit about that at all. What I care about and make a case against is religion and how it negatively impacts people in a variety of ways, people and society. And so that's what I care about, how religion and and not all religions are harmful. I think the Abrahamic religions are harmful. I think they're harmful to individuals and I think they're harmful to society. There are some other religions that are harmful. There are other religions that are not harmful at all. But that's what I make a case against is religion, not God. God or gods, any God. I don't give a shit. I just don't care about that question at all.
So, I mean, I care because people constantly try to prove that God exists, or they try to say that, oh, well, you know, you can't be a moral person unless you believe in God
But what morality? See, that's the thing. They're using a morality base of a specific religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where my case is. Religion.
Mm-hmm.
My case isn't with a God. I don't think they exist. If you want to think they do, I don't really care. And if you want to try to prove they exist, fine. I don't really care. I'm not compelled by anything that you say. But you know, keep on keeping on, whatever. But it's what people do with religion and how they use it to harm people.
Yeah.
And I don't think that everyone purposefully uses religion to harm people. Like, I think when people indoctrinate their kids, they're trying to do the best what they think is best for their kids. I mean, not in all cases. There are extreme cases that it's really terrible, but I think these parents still think that they're doing what's right.
Right.
But it's not. It's damaging.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where my argument is. I could not give a shit less if somebody believes in a God. That doesn't bother me. I just don't care.
So I want to echo that too, because I ultimately don't care whether or not somebody believes in God. I'm not one of those assholes that goes out there and is like, oh, I can't believe Sherry down the street still believes in God. Can you believe that immature shit? Like, I don't think that you're dumb or stupid or insane or anything like that just because you believe in a God. But where I come in, or where I have an issue, is when somebody tries to present like evidence to suggest that I'm wrong about it or something. And that at that point, I'm like, well, I'm not convinced by these reasons or for these reasons. So
yeah. And I don't care if they think I'm wrong. I just don't care. I care about how it's used to hurt people. Mm-hmm. And I mean, however anybody wants to believe about a personal God. And I know there are a lot of people who have argued with me about this, because they're like, well, I care because it affects how they think about everything else. And that can be true, but it isn't necessarily true. I mean, one of my very best friends and one of the smartest people I know is Megan from Digital Hammurabi. Mm-hmm. And she's a Christian and I'm an atheist, and we are best friends.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time. And, you know, somehow she manages to be a well-educated, science-minded individual who is fine with, who understands that the Bible isn't this like infallible word of God, and that everything in the Bible is correct. Somehow she manages to be a Christian and still have reason. And right. That is absolutely possible. And so she doesn't do anything to inflict harm using her religion onto other people. And so it is irrelevant to me that she believes in a God.
Right. Me too.
I mean, that's just, that question I just don't care. It's what you do with it.
Right.
That bothers me.
You ready to move on to this diagram?
Oh, sure.
Okay. They have no belief in God. Agreed. But they do have a belief about God. And their belief about God is that God doesn't exist.
I still feel like he's talking monolithically about atheists or about the atheist position, and he's not acknowledging the nuances of the differing positions within atheism. And I mean, he made a bunch of red marks on the screen trying to show that, oh, we have a belief about God. And really, it's just, at least for KC and I, we just simply don't believe in a God. It's not that we believe he doesn't exist. Although I will say, for this particular conversation, which the pause game right now is great, but for his particular religion, I would take the belief that his God doesn't exist. So within that particular context, I can agree with the way he diagrammed that sentence.
I mean, I just don't believe in gods. I don't care how he wants to fucking diagram, whatever. Like, I do have a belief about your God, just like John said. I have a belief about your God. But as far as gods in general, I don't have a belief about them or in them. I just don't think that what he's saying here is really representative. I mean, it might be representative in the way that he defines atheism, but he acts like that's the only way it goes.
Right. Sorry, I forgot to turn off my headset there.
So it's not like they don't have to make a defense for their view, since they're not really asserting anything. They're asserting that God does not exist. And that is their belief about God that they are holding and advancing. Okay? Don't be caught by that trick. All right? So how do we...
It's not a trick. And that's what I think he's being super dishonest about this, because it's not a fucking trick, dude. It's just we don't believe in gods. I don't know why this is such a big deal for you.
Well, because the reason why it's a big deal is because it puts him on an uneven playing field. And he's trying to even the playing field in the discussion. So he's manipulating the conversation so that it works out best for him.
Well, he's doing the evening the playing field by using the philosophical definition.
May the power of
right,
Christ
but I mean,
compel
the
you
reason
to
why
get the
he
fuck
has
out
to
of
do that
here.
is because he cannot argue against somebody that's not putting forth like a positive belief in something.
Yeah.
And so what he has to make it look like real atheism TM is the hard atheist position of saying that no gods exist whatsoever. He has to make it out to be that way so that he seems like he's got the better position.
But we're the ones being dishonest.
Right. I feel like it's super dishonest of him. And no, we're not playing tricks. That's why I asked earlier, for people to tell me, well, if you hold to this particular position on atheism, what in the fuck would you label me? Because it seems to me like under their definition, I would not be an atheist. So it's like, what in the fuck am I at that point?
Oh, see, I just don't care what any of them think.
Oh, I don't care what they think. Like, I'm going to identify as an agnostic atheist, but for the purposes of this conversation and to point out how...
What would you label someone who is not making a knowledge claim?
Right.
Is what you're asking.
Right.
I would think that they would label them from a philosophical standpoint. I think that would be labeled as agnostic.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like the terms as they're philosophically defined are
that's not how they're
too
commonly
rigid,
used.
and that's just not how they're used anymore.
It's not how they're commonly used. It's how they're used in philosophy, and that's fine. But that's not how they're commonly used. And
Right.
so I feel like when you're having these types of conversations and trying to argue against atheism, you might want to use definitions or arguments that are against what's commonly said and done and practiced and used by atheists.
Right.
Like not what some philosophy book says atheism is.
Did you almost say philosophy, bro?
I think I was going to say philosophical, but I meant to say philosophy. I don't know.
Make the case that there actually is a God. When my daughter, who's now 16, was about 8 years old, she asked me a question. She said, "Papa, how do we know that God is true?" is what she said. How do we know that the God we're talking about here is actually real, is her point. And I have to think about this now, and this is what I do kind of with adults, but now I got my own daughter who's a youngster who I now need to explain this to. And as I'm pondering how to answer it, all of a sudden something came into my mind that, as I look back on it now, I think captures my whole approach to this enterprise. And here's what I said to her. I said, "Honey, the reason that we believe that God is true is because he's the best explanation for the way things are."
I don't even know how to process that bullshit. Like, how is God the best explanation for anything? I don't understand that entire concept. Like, I just don't understand it whatsoever.
Well, that's because you look for natural explanations for things.
Right.
And so, and you don't assume when you don't have a natural explanation, you don't assume supernatural. Because even when we don't have or currently know a natural reason or explanation, doesn't mean there isn't one. We've spent a lot of time in human history not knowing shit.
Mm-hmm.
And explaining things as we go that we've used gods for in the past. Humans have used gods to explain all kinds of things in the past, that as we've learned more, we know the actual natural explanations.
Yeah.
So there's still tons of things we don't have answers for, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that a god did it.
Right. And I mean, I've heard design arguments out the ass. I've never found any of them compelling that shows me that God exists because the evidence is all around us or something like that.
Oh, surely you're compelled by the walking DNA.
Oh, God. No.
They're machines, honey. Machines that God built and put in your body.
Yeah, obviously. So I find that the whole, God is the best explanation for everything doesn't hold up when you start to really think about how our reality operates. Like, why does the earth revolve around the sun? Well, we can explain that with physics. And I feel like what Greg Koukl is saying is that, well, God put it in its orbit and God makes it rotate and God makes it spin around the sun.
Mm-hmm. Or why does it rain?
God did it.
The gays, John, the gays. Hurricanes are because of the gays.
Well, hurricanes, you just said rain.
Well, whatever.
But God still did the hurricanes too.
because of the gays.
because of gays or anything that you currently hate. Rock and roll music is why hurricanes exist.
Yeah, Elvis Presley used to be like evil.
Mm-hmm.
A satanic dude, right? And like by the time the 80s rolled around back in country, in country rural type of areas, Elvis Presley is what those religious folks listened to because, the new evil music of the 80s.
Yeah.
And all the sexified stuff.
You brought up DNA earlier, but DNA is a good example of how if God engineered this reality, what in the fuck was he thinking? Because
he's a terrible engineer.
Well, yeah, because like with DNA and how organisms propagate on this planet, at least, it's such an inefficient system.
Mm-hmm.
It's prone to errors, and I just don't understand. Like even if a God were to design a system like DNA that was meant to change and have its organisms evolve. Right, more of a theistic evolution sort of point of view. Like, wouldn't he be able to do it better to where like genetic diseases aren't a thing?
One would think. Or the thing that irritates me the most is the chicken and beer pipe being next to the air pipe. Like, that's some bullshit. And like the fact that they have to partially share a pipe, that's dumb.
Yeah, but I mean, honey, who's to blame for all this, right?
Probably Eve.
Fucking
because
bitch
women,
Eve.
Yeah, because women are just the worst.
They love to eat them fruit salads and
fruit salad is fucking delicious.
See what I'm talking about? That's why we're here, y'all.
See, my drink is basically fruit salad.
Let me just say that again, because it's so important. The reason that we believe in God is because he's the best explanation for the way things are.
You repeating it didn't actually make it true.
Well, and so take a second and actually think about like what Genesis says. And as far as like the Bible and how it explains how reality operates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the New Testament, you get Jesus making water from wine in John.
Mm-hmm.
How does that fucking work right there? I mean, magically, because he waved his hand and magically transformed it. Now, if you understand this from a purely secular view of the Bible, you'll know that this miraculous generation of food is the same kind of miracle that was done by Elisha and Elijah. They did it in a little bit different ways, but it's still the exact same thing. And so that would have been the ultimate source for that, or inspiration for that story of transforming water to wine.
If there are any Christians out there that know how to transform water to wine and would be willing to teach somebody, I need to get a gift certificate for Shannon Q.
I knew it was gonna be Shannon. It's like, how's she gonna work Shannon into this?
Uh-huh. If we're talking about wine, I'm gonna get Shannon involved.
And what I was doing with her, even though I didn't explain it at the time, is I was introducing the notion of explanatory power. What I mean by that is you see things in the world and you're simply asking the question, what best explains these significant features of the real world? And if you have an idea that explains them well and a contrary idea that doesn't, then the first idea has better explanatory power.
Hold on. Let me let him finish.
And therefore is more likely to be true.
Let's run some experiments in this fucking STR course, shall we? Now, rain. What do we think it was because of before?
God.
Now we have come to understand the water cycle. So it kind of seems like maybe God doesn't do that.
I'm just going to stick with God's pissing on everybody.
Snow. Is God coming on everyone?
Oh, I was just going to say God's frozen piss.
Frozen? It's not yellow.
That's
maybe he just drinks a lot of water. So it's like that clear piss.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could do this with everything.
Lightning.
Huh? Lightning, yeah.
Volcanoes.
Volcanoes are from the devil. We all know this.
Oh, well, yeah, they come from, down under the surface of the earth, so they're in hell.
Yeah. But you could run this thought experiment or, these things with anything that he could attribute to God. And if you come up with a natural explanation for it, that natural explanation will always be a better explanation than God did it.
With significantly more explanatory power.
Right.
I don't understand how he uses these words and thinks they actually apply to God did it.
I have no fucking clue. Like, why? Because this entire video seems to be an argument from God did it. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh, God did it, and that's a better explanation.
Which to me is one of the most irritating things about apologetics is the God did it argument. Like, because basically, if you attribute everything to God did it, you aren't learning anything.
No.
It's like it's the statement of the dumb, like dumb, deaf, and blind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. You just don't know anything. You don't learn anything. And because you can always point to God did it, there's no like motivation to learn something. And so you just shut it off. And that really bothers the shit out of me because it takes so much out of life to just not learn anything because everything you attribute to God.
Yep.
And that's annoying.
It is very annoying. Fuck Greg Koukle.
Now, just a little hint here. I want to let you in on a strategic insight. For us as Christian theists, we have a powerful ally. And what is that? We have reality on our side.
I'm sorry,
God's
what?
on our side. Oh my God.
Reality is on the Christian side.
I just got transported straight back to high school. I went to a Catholic school, by the way, and we would play sports ball against teams who were also Catholic schools. So this is also kind of weird, but we would chant God's on our side. Right.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd have effectively both sides were saying the same thing.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
God only loves the winners.
I mean, that has to be true, right?
It kind of seems like it. But I really don't understand how God is on the Christian side of things, or how reality is on the Christian side of things. Like, that doesn't make sense. Have you read the Bible?
Something explanatory power, John.
Yeah, well, I mean, just think about it. Everything in the Old Testament is ahistorical. So right off the bat, it just doesn't make any kind of fucking sense to say that reality is on God's side or the Christian side.
So I mean, there are some historical things, but a lot of the stories are not actual things that happen in history.
Well, okay, so I'm like, we're disregarding the minute historical things that are in that, because like the minute historical things are like, there was a King David. Sure, we have evidence of that.
Well, I mean, there are some stories like in Kings and Chronicles and stuff where we know that certain kings in certain areas took over, conquered other areas, and that's in the Bible, and we know that those things happened. So, I mean, there is some historical information there, but it's like it's not the point of the story. You know what I mean?
Well, right. That's what I mean. Getting these minute details of like, well, who was in power, who took over after who, like those things I would consider, as far as the context of the Old Testament goes, to be minute details. But I mean, like, fucking, who's that guy with the hair and Judges? What?
The guy with the hair?
Yeah, in Judges, he ripped the lion.
Samson?
Samson.
Okay.
Samson was probably not a real person.
Oh, probably not. But I mean, there are some prophecies that did actually happen.
Well, yeah, but
or at least
they were
parts
most
of
likely
them.
written after the fact, though.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, those are things that actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that prophecy is real, but there are some things written by this, quote unquote prophets that said they were prophecies that were things that actually did happen. Now,
Okay.
whether I'm not making a judgment on whether they happened before or after, like if it was written before or after, I'm just, because I don't know. I'm just saying there are real things that did happen. But overall, there are a lot of things in the Old Testament that are things that are not based in reality.
In the context of what the Old Testament was supposed to be communicating, I feel the parts that it gets right are really
minimal.
Well, not only minimal, but they're really aside from like the point of all the stories. So when I say the Old Testament is ahistorical, I mean that the main reason why the Old Testament was written, namely to give like a historical record of the Israelite people and what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that on the whole is ahistorical, because those events did not happen. And now that's not to say that they don't get a few minute details right within the text, but I'm saying the overall message of the Old Testament, the overall purpose of the Old Testament is not on the is against reality. It's ahistorical.
Okay.
So, I mean, I agree that there are minute details that are correct, but they are minimal, and they only slightly matter to the main themes that are contained within.
I just think it depends on what book you're talking about. I think it really matters what part of the Old Testament you're talking about. So there are some areas that are actually really historical and other areas that are not historical at all. It's just a story. So I mean, I don't think you can lay a blanket over it and say this is the thing, but that's just my opinion. If you think it's totally ahistorical, that's fine. I just think the context of each of the different books matters.
I mean, I can agree with that the context of each book matters, but
because they have different points. There's not one overall point of the Old Testament, that each of the areas have different functions.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to explain what I mean by that. I got this insight from Francis Schaeffer. And first he noted that if Christianity is true, then it is an accurate view of reality. And that would mean that all human beings are really made in the image of God, and all human beings must live in the world that God made, even if they don't believe it, all right? Therefore, if Christianity is true, and it's the better explanation of reality, atheists who deny God must be living in denial of reality at some point.
We're living in denial of reality. Now, I think one thing that you can agree on me with is that the first 5 books of the Bible are bullshit. The Pentateuch, bullshit.
Well, so there's a lot of stuff in them that are wrong. But as far as like the rules and laws that the Israelite people had to live by, those were things, like those were rules that the Israelite people had to live by. And so, I mean, I didn't like the laws, but were they bullshit? I mean, it's what they decided their code was going to be, just like any other society is going to have their code.
Well, I'm not saying that they didn't hold to those laws. Because like when I think about the first 5 books I mean, I guess I'm thinking more along the lines the story, and not like the I guess legalistic portions of the first 5 books.
Oh, well, I mean, like Leviticus and Deuteronomy and things like that, like those were, I feel like the story the story is mainly a Genesis story, right? Numbers is kind of not really a story kind of based thing.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, and Numbers is completely wrong on the numbers of Israelites.
That yes, yeah.
I mean, the first, the patriarchs of the Old Testament, they're bullshit and not historical.
I mean, that we know of. Yeah, we don't have any evidence that they existed for sure.
I was not trying to say that the Israelites didn't hold to the laws that are laid down.
Well, I mean, those were real laws that the Israelites lived by.
I know, and I'm just clarifying that I wasn't trying to say that they weren't laws.
But see, that's what I mean. Like, religion is so nuanced in general. I just hesitate to put like a big blanket over like, the Pentateuch is all bullshit. Well, because it's not. Because the rules that they lived by were real rules that they lived by.
I don't know. They're kind of bullshit rules.
I mean, just because you don't like them doesn't mean that they're bullshit.
I don't know.
Therefore, sooner or later, atheists who deny God's world, reality, are going to bump into the world as it really is. And what I mean here is they're going to affirm some feature of reality.
Can we just take? I know I'm interrupting him, but before he says that we are ignoring reality, this comes from the same motherfucker that thinks that prayer does something in reality.
I mean, they do. They really do think that prayer does do something.
I mean, this is like coming from the thoughts and prayers crowd.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's bullshit.
Oh, there was a mass shooting over here. We need to pray.
Mm-hmm.
If only they had Jesus. Oh, did you not hear? The shooter was actually a priest who prayed 5 times a day or more.
And he shot up a church.
And he shot up a church. So, I mean, I don't know what your prayers are supposed to do. Kind of seems like if God has a handle on this shit, he wanted that dude to shoot up that group of people. Like, it just amazes me how somebody can be so deluded in their position that they sit there and psychically transmit their thoughts and wishes to a deity who is all knowing, by the way. He knows the future. He and not just knows the future, he is
he set the course.
He set the course. He has created the path that we are on. He knows what's going to happen. But no, you are going to psychically transmit your wishes to him, and he's going to be like, well, shit.
God's will.
Yeah.
Stupid. But I don't know. I have to wonder, this guy. So before you pause it the last time, he was talking about how if Christianity is true and reality is based on Christianity, well, what parts? Like, all of it can't be true. We know that for a fact because there's too much that's contradictory within Christianity. So it can't all be true. So what parts, if what is true? Again, it's one of those throw a blanket on it and say a buzzword. And like, that just doesn't work for me.
Well, that part right there seemed to be more of a possible, therefore plausible fallacy, or possible, therefore probable fallacy. And basically it's saying, well, it's possible that, this thing. So it's like, it's possible that God exists. And it's possible that if God exists, then he created reality, or, he controls everything. So it's therefore probable that atheists are delusional.
But it's also possible that big fucking rainbow snake in Australia created everything. So I don't know why. I guess I don't understand from a Christian's perspective. I don't understand why it is more probable that your God is a thing and over all of the others. That doesn't make sense to me. Why is your claim so, like, what gives your claim so much more merit?
I mean, they got a book.
The other religions have books too.
Is there a giant rainbow snake book?
I mean, I don't know, but I did a YouTube video on it, so there's that.
Sometimes without even realizing it, that makes no sense given their worldview, but makes perfect sense given our worldview.
Everything makes perfect sense when you just say God did it and look no further.
Yeah, and also I would love to know, which I think he's about to go into it, but I'd love to know exactly like what does a Christian worldview explain better than a secular worldview? I'm not going to say atheist worldview because I don't think atheism is a worldview, I think worldviews can be atheistic, but sure. I don't think that atheism itself is a worldview.
Agreed.
But I would say that there are secular worldviews, and I wonder what kind of thing out there could be better explained on God than on fucking nature.
Fuck if I know.
Apparently it has to do with Dawkins.
Oh.
Take Richard Dawkins, for example. He's probably the world's most famous atheist right now. Dawkins says that, on the one hand, if you look at nature, according to him, there is no design, and no purpose, and no evil, and no good. Nothing, he says, but blind, pitiless indifference.
Now, so obviously, fucking hate Dawkins. I really wish that these apologists would quit using Dawkins in these things.
Agreed. But to be fair, I agree with this.
I do agree because and this is the third time in the last couple of weeks that people have pulled this particular quote out.
Really?
So I don't know what kind of seminar or maybe like STR talk that was done or something like that.
One of their universities.
One of their fucking fake ass universities, like, harped on Dawkins, this one quote from Richard Dawkins. But, if y'all could just not all take the exact same course and then put out material, that would be fucking great. But in any case, I do agree with this quote by Dawkins, however much I loathe Dawkins. I do agree with this because he's basically saying the universe is amoral.
Yeah.
The universe doesn't give a shit about you, but that's just because it's the natural world, and the natural world doesn't have feelings.
And it's not sentient.
Yeah, it's not sentient. It doesn't have any kind of agency behind it. It's just there. And the reality that we have is exactly what we would expect if there were if there weren't any of these things, like no design, no purpose, no evil, no good. Because, and where it's gone in the past is they've conflated or equivocated this particular statement with human behavior.
Yeah, so that's different from like the natural order of things, right? So within the natural order, things have a purpose. Things have a purpose within the natural order, but it's not a purpose that is like assigned to them by some being, like there are individual steps in natural processes that are required for that process to work. You know what I mean? And like certain things are required, like trees are required to put oxygen into the atmosphere, and plants, so I mean, there are certain things that do have a purpose.
Well, so the equivocation that he's probably going to pull is equivocating just a general purpose for something, or a general reason rather why something happens, with transcendental purpose. So something that transcends like our human experience, or transcends reality in general.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. They have a purpose within a natural process, but it's not something that has been assigned to them by some sort of sentient being.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, here's the weird thing is that like the transcendental purpose for Christians is, in my experience, has just been to worship God. I mean, that seems to be the main message in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. And it seems to be the one thing that, most, if not all Christians can agree on, is that you got to put God first. You got to think of God first.
Well, so I think it depends on what kind of Christianity you're looking at. And that's for evangelicals and the more fundamentalist Christians, I think that's absolutely true. For the more mainstream Christians, I'm not sure that that's really accurate. Not that they would say put God second, but like, I mean, I grew up Catholic and went to a Catholic school. I also went to church, to Southern Baptist church every week when I was growing up with my grandmother. So I got a view from a Southern Baptist way and a view from a Catholic way. And I never really was taught put God before everything else. The main thing that I was taught, and this is just my own anecdotal experience, right? But the main thing that I was taught was that put others first. Like God teaches you, Jesus would teach you to take care of each other and to put others first. And so that was the main message that I got. And I grew up doing all kinds of charity work and things like that. And by putting others first, you're putting God, you're doing God's work, and you're worshiping him in an appropriate way because you're taking care of your neighbors.
Let's see, that's the exact opposite as I was taught.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not during my time as a Catholic, because, I was a horrible Catholic. But I'm talking about like my time as like a non-denominational and Baptist, both Baptist and Southern Baptist.
Mm-hmm. Now, to be fair, I went to a Southern Baptist church in Ohio, which is not exactly the same as a Southern Baptist church in Alabama.
Right.
So,
and so, I mean, I was taught differently. I mean, I was taught to put God first in everything. Like it's, and you can see it in some of the mainstream denominations out there.
Sure.
About, with how involved people get with God in their life. I mean, at work, I had my boss at a meeting recently where he was like, my number one thing is make sure everybody gets to heaven. Yeah, it's like, terrible. Well, fuck it. I'm failing already.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm not trying to say that wasn't that's not an underlying factor in Christianity. I think it certainly is elevating God to this, level above, and always keeping God in mind when you're making decisions and doing things that, like the whole "what would Jesus do" thing. You're thinking about what God would do, what Jesus would do, and living your life based on that. But I guess it was just taught to me in a little different of a way, and it wasn't so blatant, like God comes first kind of thing,
Yeah. But I mean, like you were talking about earlier with how people use their religion, a lot of even the mainstream religions now are, saying that, if there's anything wrong in your life, it's because you're not putting God first. Like, you're not.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something that is quite common, that you're doing something wrong that's displeasing God.
I think they need to read Job, though. Job will set their ass straight.
We're still working our way through Job, aren't we?
Yep.
This one is challenging, and we've got a long way to go in Job. Job has been a challenge for me.
Now, that totally consistent with his atheistic worldview. No evil, no good. Belief in morality, on his view, is just a trick evolution plays on us to get our selfish genes into the next generation. So at that point when he says that, he is making statements that are completely consistent with his worldview of atheism. However, on the other hand, in his book...
So I don't think that atheists think there is no... Now, I'm going to use evil in a very loose sense, in as meaning bad, because he says no evil, no good, right? So no good, no bad. Atheism is in the atheistic worldview, which I think is a weird thing that he would need to define. But as far as being an atheist, the idea that there's no good and no bad, I think is ridiculous. We just base our morality off of something different.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's what I said before. He's confusing Dawkins' statement about nature and reality
with human behavior,
or a human understanding of events that happen. Because, like, we would see a seal pup violently raping a penguin as being something bad.
I mean, I think that would be unpleasant for the penguin.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as far as we understand that entire concept, I mean, that's like an objectively bad or considerably evil thing to do.
I mean, in nature, I don't know if that's true. Like, I mean, I guess they've killed them before. It's a pretty violent process, right? With the seals and the penguins.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I think we can probably say that that's not good.
Well, yeah, and I'm specifically I'm not talking about from an objective standpoint of like outside of our own human experience,
like consent and all of those things. Like,
right,
we're not applying. Okay,
right. Well, I'm talking about like from our experience, like from our perspective on the situation. Like if we saw that happening, it'd be like, oh shit, that seal sucks. Like that seal's like doing something that's bad. Like I'm just saying from a strictly human experience, that's how we would view that situation. Like, oh, that's bad. I'm not talking about like outside of ourselves or of our experience. But that's where Greg and people like Greg and like Frank Turek, William Lane Craig, they misconstrue this concept of an amoral natural universe with our experience of the universe. And so they conflate the two, thinking that they should be the same thing.
Well, and human behavior is not the same as a natural process.
Right.
So it's just, I agree. Conflating those things is totally wrong, because we can say nature, the natural processes, things that happen in nature are amoral.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that we do as people, I mean, some things are completely amoral, but there are certainly morally positive and morally negative things.
Yeah. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, I did not pull that out of my ass. The seals violating penguins is a real thing that happens.
Yeah, and it's really horrible.
Yeah, but the reason why, in case any of you are really curious, the reason why it happens is that there are seals that are like they're the big seals of whatever kind of pack that they're in, and
the alpha seal,
I guess.
Okay.
And so they're the ones that get to mate with all the females. And so what that ends up with are all these like really horny
beta
males, beta males, basically, that will just go around and fuck anything. And it just so happens, if they're around a bunch of penguins are getting violated at that point. So that's what happens there. Thank you, that one guy off TikTok that does all the animal facts.
The God delusion, he attacks the God of the Bible. And here's what he says. He says, the God of the Old Testament is a vindictive, bloodthirsty, homophobic, racist, genocidal, sadomasochistic, malevolent bully. Now, do you see the problem there?
No,
I don't see any problem. But also, I like how he just skipped right the fuck over bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser. Like he didn't want to say that. He's like, God, kind of, he does ethnically cleanse some shit there. So I can't disagree with that. But the rest of it's fucking bullshit. But no, I don't see a problem with that, because in the one context, Dawkins is talking about how amoral the universe and the natural world is. Mm-hmm. In this one, he's making a personal human judgment on the character of God in the Bible. These are two totally different contexts.
Which again is fair. I mean, has this guy, I'd assume this guy has read the Bible, but like, if you've read it, this is a pretty good characterization.
Yeah. Let's see what he thinks the problem is, though.
Okay.
Clearly, Dawkins is not coming to that conclusion based on his atheism, which he says dictates no evil, no good. Notice all of those challenges to God of the Old Testament.
Well,
I mean, he's not coming to that conclusion based on atheism. He's coming to that conclusion based on reading the Bible and however he determines his moral, like wherever his morality comes from. Like I base my morality off of harm. If something does harm, generally it's bad. If something does not do harm, it's generally amoral. If something does something good or it brings a positive outcome, then it's good. I mean, it's really basic. That's really dumbing it down, but I mean, it would depend on how Dawkins determines morality for himself.
Well,
which
right.
I don't know, because he's kind of an asshole.
Well, yeah, he is. But the point that Koukle's trying to make here is that if Dawkins thinks that there is no evil and there's no good or anything like that, then he shouldn't have this particular opinion about God in the Bible.
He's doing the conflating thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's saying that the universe is amoral, and so he can't make any determinations on human characteristics or behavior.
This is classic quote mining and equivocating.
Well, and it doesn't even flow logically.
Right.
So.
Or that he's evil. That complaint against God makes no sense in his worldview. But I'll tell you something, moral assessments like that, I don't think they're accurate in his case, but that kind of assessment make perfect sense in our worldview.
Well, no, it doesn't. I insanely disagree with this because in the Christian worldview, at least as reported by evangelicals, just like Greg Koukl, or like Frank Turk and all them, God is the standard of good. Okay, right. The only things that are bad are things that do not glorify God.
Well, I think what he's saying is being able to characterize someone's behavior, just in general, not necessarily God. Just the ability to characterize someone's behavior makes no sense for Dawkins because he doesn't believe in morals, which is not true.
Right.
But it makes sense for them because apparently they create morals. But in someone else's morality, they could have a different standard.
Right. But I mean, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that on a Christian worldview, the statement that Dawkins made doesn't make sense, because anything that God does is good.
Right.
So anything that God has commanded, like Numbers 31, where God has the Israelites kill all the Midianites except for the little girls that haven't known the touch of a man, for obviously non-sex reasons, right? Mm-hmm. That would be considered good. Like, that was done for a good reason. And plenty of apologists out there make the argument that it was a good reason that God had for commanding the Israelites to kill all of them.
They make a lot of arguments for making bad shit good.
I know, but I guess ultimately my point is that Dawkins' statement on a Christian worldview does not make any kind of sense.
If you apply his statement to God, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
If he's just speaking generally, which is what I was trying to say, if he's just speaking generally about making an assessment on any given person's behavior, it wouldn't make sense if he's talking about God specifically, I agree. But if he's not, then I think it's fine.
Well, right. Well, with the exception that, Christians and the Bible doesn't own the corner on like moral statements or anything like that.
No, of course not.
I mean, we've had people contemplate the morality or the moral implications of their actions before Judaism was even conceived. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to say that it requires his particular version of God in order to have any kind of moral knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, we know of moral and ethical standards that existed and societal rules that existed well before any of the Abrahamic religions.
Well, and given that our decision-making process is a purely chemically driven process, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, at least, to say that, oh, well, you wouldn't have this moral knowledge without God.
Our decision-making process is purely chemical?
Well, yeah, because it's a chemical process in the brain that happens. I mean, it's a complex process, but like for instance, your subconscious makes a decision up to 7 seconds before you're made aware of it.
Okay.
And I mean, that subconscious is it's definitely a chemically driven your entire brain's chemically driven.
Okay. I mean, fair. I guess I was not thinking of it in that way. I was thinking of it in like, to me, what I was hearing when you were saying decision is a chemical process, decision-making process is chemical. To me, that means you're like reacting based off of chemicals or emotion that cause certain emotions. And like that's how I interpreted what you were saying. And that's not what you were meaning.
No. That's not what I was meaning. I mean, I'm just talking about the basic biochemical processes that the brain goes through. In general,
like the decision-making process is an actual logical, like it's an actual thing. It's not chemical based.
No. I'm talking about the actual, the physical, like decision making, not like the decision making process, like as far as analytical or logical thinking goes.
All right. Yeah. We were talking about totally different things. My bad. Okay. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So Dawkins, notice, is living in a contradiction on this issue. All right. He talks on the one hand, kind of like an atheist, and then all of a sudden, when his guard is down, his natural understanding of morality that God built into him is coming out. But it's a contradiction with his atheism. And that.
When his guard is down?
Apparently.
And like, just because he understands that there's some moral code going on doesn't mean it has anything to do with your God, dude.
Well, and also like when Dawkins was making the moral judgment against God, I mean, I would think that would be when his guard is completely up, because I mean, he was writing a book specifically about how bullshit God is.
I think the assessment of Dawkins' like guard is irrelevant entirely. Guard up, guard down doesn't fucking matter. You don't know what he was thinking when he wrote that. You can't possibly know that. So there's no reason to say it. Like it just makes no sense, and it's irrelevant.
Right.
That is a point of tension. And Francis Schaeffer said, when we see Dawkins in this case bumping into reality, when he raises those kinds of moral complaints against God, and he's trading on our worldview, not his, that's where we can draw attention to it and use that on our behalf. What I'm saying is this: Christianity has better explanatory power. In other words, it fits the world in a way that atheism does not on some very, very important issues. And these are issues that resonate with our deepest intuitions about reality, our deepest understandings about the way the world actually is.
So list them and explain in detail.
Well, I think that, I mean, he says that there are 3 things that he's going to talk about. So this is just the first course about it. And so this particular bump that he's talking about is, claiming that there's no morality, but then making moral judgments. And so that, like, he's not explicitly,
he's equivocating natural processes with human behavior.
Right. And that's essentially, which we're actually gonna, he's got like 2 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
But I think I'm just gonna go, because I mean, he's just pushing his whole course.
Oh, for the next couple. Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to go back to the main screen here because we need to get going. So I mean, he's basically saying that morality is a problem for atheists, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because we would have moral knowledge of things, whether or not a God exists, because our decision-making process and our ability to think, about the moral implications of our actions is only dependent upon chemistry and is not dependent on a supernatural deity. I mean, nothing's dependent on a supernatural deity, but my point is that we have verifiable evidence that, all that's needed for us to make moral conclusions or to think about the moral implications of our actions is to have just a complex nervous system. And I mean, this holds true for other organisms, other animals out there that have somewhat complex moral or complex central nervous systems. They also can think about, the moral implications of their actions.
And they do. And we see moral or ethical kind of actions among some groups of animals.
Yeah. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to sit there and try to act like we're special, like as far as like the argument for morality goes, because when you can point to these other animals that have less complex central nervous systems, but they're still complex enough to have these kind of, thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Like dogs have a very basic sort of, at least inclination of the moral implications of their actions.
I mean, we're certainly different.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess when you say that we're not special, I mean, we are, but we're not special in the ways that I think that they want to think that we are. And I don't think that they give enough credence to the fact that we are animals too.
Right. Well, and by special, I mean like, specially created by God, or like the world is created for us, or
it's definitely not, because lots of things are trying to kill us.
Right.
And so it's definitely not created for us. Most of this fucking planet we can't even live on.
Right. And so when I say special, I'm using special from definitely a more religion oriented view, because we obviously are special because we become the apex animal on this planet. But
if you go out in the fucking woods or in the ocean, your ass is going to get eaten by a bear or shark. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't understand people that'll like go spearfishing amongst a whole bunch of fucking sharks. Like that just seems like a death wish, honestly.
I mean, it's fun for some people. They love that shit.
Not me.
No, me either. Mm.
But anyways, heathens, this has been a lovely Friday night. So glad that you guys were able to come out and join us. All in all, for this video, I was just not at all like convinced by his moral argument. I also wasn't convinced by his, definitions of atheism and theism, as far as like the idea that atheists like make a positive claim. I wasn't convinced by anything that he said about that. I wasn't convinced that, there's a moral plot problem for the atheists. Because obviously we can make moral judgments, and come to moral conclusions and not require a God. And we're also, more importantly, as Frank Turk would say, stealing from God. We're definitely not doing that, because it's a totally natural process, and it does not require God in order for us to have any kind of knowledge, let alone moral knowledge. So I feel like this STR course at STR University maybe needs to rethink their lesson plan.
I mean, perhaps. Not only was I not convinced, I felt like whether he intended to be or not, a lot of his arguments were dishonest. They just did not have a solid foundation. And so I thought a lot of stuff did not logically flow. And he kind of generalized a lot of things that don't need to be, and in ways that I felt were not
necessary.
Well, accurate. I just don't think they were accurate. And so I hate to say he was lying about stuff, but I feel like it was dishonest. I don't know if he intended to be, or he was just going from a certain angle. But if you're going from a certain angle, you need to say that. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me about this video, that I just thought was irritating.
Yeah, me too. Right there with you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight there, hon.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You've helped me stretch this out to a normal length for our live streams.
You're welcome, everybody else. Of course, anything that I'm in on the channel has significantly fewer views. So thanks for those who hung around and didn't leave because I was talking.
I mean, I loved having you here, and I have to say that's probably the only thing that really matters.
Yeah. Is it?
I mean, I think so, but you know, whatever the fuck. Anyways, I hope that you heathens have a great weekend. I hope you have a great night. I'm sure that we've interacted the entire time in the side chat. And I guess we will see you heathens on Monday when we're going to be taking a look at, what is it on Monday? We're taking a look at Dr. John Lennox, and how he gets atheism completely wrong.
Great.
Yeah. So we will see you guys on Monday for that. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.